My core belief, whether the national anthem is playing or not, has consistently been to maintain my integrity and always be honest with the public. My family and we've sacrificed it all. In a fiery press conference clash that sent shockwaves through the tennis community, Alex Eala completely dismantled a journalist. You need to drop everything this instant, because the events that unfolded live in that room represent one of the most stunning, emotionally charged, and unforgettable confrontations tennis has seen in years. This wasn't just a moment for Philippine tennis or even women's tennis. It was a moment for all of professional sports. And if that sounds like hyperbole, just hear me out. Before this is over, you will grasp precisely why the entire tennis world asurway. Momsing about one press conference, one heinous allegation, and one remarkable answer from a 20-year-old named Alex Eala. Picture the setting. You're surrounded by the intense, almost blinding glare of the lights in the media room. You can hear the low, oppressive drone of an overtaxed air conditioner. The room is packed with a swarm of reporters, all brandishing microphones and recorders, driven by that relentless modern hunger for a clickbait headline that has to drop before the day ends. Most of the time, press conferences in professional tennis follow a very predictable script filled with polite, rehearsed platitudes. You get the standard questions. What was your strategy for dealing with the wind? How did you adapt your approach to returning serves? Where do you stand in the rankings as you head into the clay court season? Athletes can answer these types of questions in their sleep. The whole point is to generate harmless, usable quotes for articles that won't cause any controversy. However, on very rare occasions, and these instances are truly few and far between, the facade of professional decorum is completely shattered. The meticulously planned media event careens wildly off course. And suddenly, the raw, unfiltered, and deeply unsettling truth of what these young competitors face behind their curated Instagram feeds is brutally and unexpectedly exposed for everyone to see. This is precisely what transpired in an event that attendees are now calling the most intense and emotionally shattering press conference moment they have seen in a very long time. An interaction that started as a somewhat strained and boring discussion about her latest match results rapidly and disastrously spiraled into one of the most visceral and emotional showdowns of Alex's heavily watched young career. The questions took a sinister and clearly intentional turn. The focus moved sharply and methodically from statistics about her game, like top spin, and serves to a direct attack on her family's basic allegiance to the Republic of the Philippines. A journalist, and I use that term with reservation, had the stunning, unmitigated gall to make an accusation against this young woman and her relatives, effectively charging them with deserting their own country. Just let that sink in for a second. In a room dedicated to analyzing the mechanics of a tennis match, a grown man decided to stare a 20-year-old in the face. He coldly and deliberately implied that she and her family were merely opportunists who had fabricated a whole patriotic story for the media, all for money and big corporate deals, while secretly betraying their heritage. The reporter was targeting Alexandra Eala, the teenage star from the Philippines who had a day off because she was dominating the tournament. The implication was clear, a shocking attack on her connection to her culture and her country. This wasn't some clumsy, off-the-cuff remark. The accusation was deliberate, laced with real malice, and designed to inflict pain. As that poisonous statement filled the press room, hanging heavy in the atmosphere, Alex became utterly motionless. It wasn't the stillness of a person caught by surprise, fumbling for a response. It was the quiet of someone absorbing an insult so deep that their very being required a moment to fully register the blow. The mood in the room didn't just change, it became heavy. It was the kind of palpable tension you can feel right before a major thunderstorm breaks. People who were there later recalled seeing an obvious and growing unease spread through almost every reporter in attendance. Some stared down at the ground, others glanced nervously at the moderator. The moderator tried frantically to signal a change of topic, but to no avail. The line of questioning continued relentlessly. The journalist pushed forward, doubling down on his point with what onlookers called a smug insistence that only made the entire situation more repulsive. The whir of camera lenses was audible. Feet shuffled uneasily on the carpet. A single cough broke the tension. It was a few of the most excruciating, drawn-out seconds any sports writer in that room had ever experienced. The most prominent sound was the shared bated breath of everyone present, who now understood with awful certainty that they were witnessing a truly awful event play out. Then she began to speak. Her eyes were glistening with tears she refused to let fall, but they also burned with an unwavering, laser-like focus and resolve. Alex Eala gave her answer. She didn't resort to a well-rehearsed public relations deflection. She didn't march out of the room in justified anger. She didn't have a meltdown. She didn't fall apart. Instead, she replied with a visceral, stunning conviction that left everyone in the room frozen in place. Her voice, though shaking, was grounded in the unshakable certainty of someone who is secure in their own truth. It rang through the microphone, shattering the stunned silence like a clap of thunder. My family and I, we have sacrificed everything for this country. Period. There were no caveats, no gentle diplomatic language. She flatly refused to let years of sacrifice, the crushing financial burden, the profound emotional cost, and the painful distance from her home be dismissed as mere self-interest by a journalist hunting for a controversial story. Attendees reported that the change in the room's atmosphere was instant and astounding. The choking tension vanished, replaced in a heartbeat by a silent, respectful awe. Then came the applause. It started tentatively with just a couple of hesitant claps from the rear of the room, as though people were unsure if applauding at a press conference was the proper thing to do. But that initial clapping grew louder and stronger, building into an authentic room-wide ovation of support and respect. The profound, indisputable power of her statement washed over everyone in the hall. This was a daughter standing up for her family's honor. It was a competitor defending her country live with nothing but the raw, unvarnished truth on her side. That was the very moment the tennis world witnessed with complete clarity the core of steel within this emerging champion. To fully appreciate the significance of this showdown, one must consider the reality of being a professional tennis player who comes from the Philippines. This isn't the United States, where there's a vast system of professional coaches in nearly every town. It's not like France with its government-backed academies and an established tradition of clay court tennis. It's not Spain, Australia, or Germany. Despite its incredible beauty, its fervent sports fans, and the renowned heart and tenacity of its people, the Philippines lacks the kind of infrastructure needed to produce Grand Slam champions. You won't find countless perfectly kept courts in all the major cities there. There isn't a robust and profitable local tournament circuit that would let a gifted young player remain at home gathering ranking points without having to leave their family. Here is the harsh, unavoidable truth of the situation. If you're a tennis player from the Philippines with true world-class talent, leaving is your only option. You're forced to pack up your life before you're even old enough to get a driver's license. You have to bid farewell to your relatives, your friends from childhood, and everything you've ever found familiar, and relocate to the other side of the planet simply for a shot at a career in the sport. That is the exact path the Eala family was forced to take. Their departure from the Philippines wasn't due to a lack of love for their country. They made the deliberate choice to leave the Philippines for one reason: so Alex could develop the skill, the technical precision, and the physical prowess needed to elevate the Philippines' standing in the world of tennis to unprecedented heights. When Alex Eala relocated to the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, Spain, it wasn't for some chic European vacation. She was stepping into one of the most demanding and intensely competitive training environments for athletes anywhere in the world. It's a place where gifted young athletes from every corner of the globe endure relentless physical and mental strain day in and day out. The entire system is designed to shatter them and then forge them into champions. Not everyone makes it through. A great many are sent packing. Her family made staggering sacrifices financially, emotionally, and on a profoundly personal level just to make her journey a reality. Do you have any real grasp of the money it takes to bankroll a junior tennis player's career on the world stage? You're talking about elite coaching, travel to dozens of international tournaments a year, top-tier equipment, physical therapy, nutrition plans, and the cost of a full-time academy. Parents are frequently backed into making financial choices that leave them staring at the ceiling at 3 in the morning. They're remortgaging their houses, liquidating savings. They spent decades building and accepting a constant state of low-level financial dread, all while pushing every last chip they own to the center of the table, betting that their child's talent is the real deal and that it will all be worth it. The Eala family went all in, and while doing so, they shouldered the hopes of an entire country's tennis community. Now, let's get into who these individuals really are, because the journalist responsible for this mess either did a terrible job with their research or more probably didn't do any at all. Alex's mother, Riza Eala, isn't some privileged, out-of-touch socialite who doesn't understand what national service means. She herself is a former Southeast Asian Games bronze medalist in swimming. She understands in her very soul what it takes to pour everything you have into representing your flag. She is intimately familiar with the isolation of training camps and the act of giving up a personal life for the sake of national pride. She's been through it all, Alex's father, Mike Eala, has been a steadfast source of support, dedicating years to navigating the incredibly perilous world of global sports business simply to shield his daughter's ambitions and ensure she stayed on a constructive course. This isn't a family that needs a lecture on patriotism from some reporter. This is a family that has been living, funding, and suffering for that ideal quietly, without any desire for acclaim for years. Now let's deal in some cold hard reality, because the facts don't just weaken this absurd media storyline, they completely vaporize it. If Alex Eala and her family were motivated solely by opportunism and personal gain, the smartest and most profitable move she could have made years ago was to seek a change in her nationality. It's a constant occurrence in international sports. Young talents from developing countries with scarce resources are courted by more affluent federations that offer cutting-edge facilities, large government stipends, guaranteed wildcard spots in major events, and all the infrastructural backing a young athlete could ever wish for, all in return for wearing another nation's flag on their uniform. We've witnessed it happen in track and field, in badminton, in table tennis, and absolutely in tennis. It's a common practice, it's perfectly legal, and for Alex it would have been a significantly easier and more financially rewarding route than the one she has stuck to. Yet she has never done it. She has never once even entertained the notion publicly. Every single time she walks onto a court anywhere on this planet, whether it's a minor ITF tournament in a tiny European village with just a few people watching, or a main draw at a Grand Slam on the sport's grandest stages, the flag of the Philippines is displayed proudly beside her name, always without fail. Let's also examine her conduct, because her deeds are the final refutation of the desertion narrative. Do you recall the Asian Games? Do you recall the sheer all-consuming determination she showed to win a bronze medal for the Philippines? She ended a medal drought in tennis for her country that had lasted for decades. She fought through the profound exhaustion that comes from a grueling professional tour schedule. She battled against seasoned veteran opponents who had been competing at the senior level for many more years than she had. She bore the immense, suffocating weight of knowing that millions of her fellow Filipinos were timing their alarms to go off at 3, 4, and 5 in the morning just to see a pixelated stream on their phones, all of them hoping and praying she would deliver a victory for them. And she did. Does that seem like the action of someone who has forsaken her homeland? Does that resemble the conduct of a woman who has abandoned her own people? The particular charge thrown at Alex in that media room strikes at something far more profound than just tennis. It pokes at an exceptionally sensitive cultural nerve within the Philippines. It's a fundamental Filipino principle called utang na loob. This is a phrase that can be loosely interpreted as a deep, almost sacred obligation of gratitude you owe to those who have provided you with something vital. To be accused in public of not having utang na loob, to be branded as ungrateful to your heritage and your country in a public setting, is one of the most damaging forms of character destruction you can level against a Filipino public figure. It's the weaponization of cultural shame, and that journalist was fully aware of their actions. They didn't just carelessly stumble into a controversial moment. They intentionally picked out a specific knife and drove it in as deeply as possible. They were betting that the firestorm of outrage that followed Filipinos turning against their own rising champion, the fabricated story of a millionaire athlete forgetting her origins, would drive website clicks and social media engagement for days. It is a revolting parasitic strategy, and it is deplorably widespread in the current sports media environment. Alex Eala understood it all as it was happening, and her reaction, that quivering, tear-filled, defiant statement, wasn't just born out of anger. If you pay close attention, you'll understand what that moment truly represented. It was the deep, gut-wrenching realization that it doesn't matter how many championships you bring home for your country, or how often you stand on a podium with your hand over your heart crying as your national anthem echoes through the arena. There will invariably be someone lurking nearby, ready to claim you're just putting on an act, to insinuate that your love is a performance, to suggest that your sacrifices were merely a strategic investment. That is a uniquely savage and malicious form of cruelty. And it was directed at a 20-year-old kid who has sacrificed more for her country than the majority of her detractors have sacrificed for anything at all in their comfortable lives. But the magnificent poetic twist in this whole disastrous event for that reporter is this: the whole scheme blew up in their face. Not just a bit, not in a minor way. It backfired so utterly and so spectacularly that it created the precise opposite of the intended result. Rather than cementing an image of a distant, conceited, and unappreciative athlete, the The reporter inadvertently gave the entire world a front-row view of Alex Eala's raw, uncensored humanity, her fierce and unbreakable devotion to her family, and the profoundness of her love for a nation that she has, for not one single match, ever failed to represent with her entire being. The footage of her reply has sent true shockwaves across the worldwide tennis community. Longtime players, coaches, supporters, and sports reporters from all over have come together to support her, issuing a collective condemnation of the toxic and manipulative cynicism that defines the modern sports media complex. Because this is the reality that the self-satisfied critics on their couches seem utterly unwilling to confront. The existence of an up-and-coming tennis star is an unbelievably, almost unimaginably lonely one. We are shown the Instagram pictures, the gleaming tournament trophies under stadium lights, the announcements of brand deals, and the selfies from business-class flights. We are shown the managed, refined, and meticulously controlled public image. What we are not shown is the truth of sitting completely by yourself in a nondescript beige hotel room in another country on your birthday because your competition schedule won't let you fly home. We don't witness the private tears that fall after a devastating first-round defeat when you're fully aware that your family spent thousands of dollars. They didn't really have, just to be there to cheer you on. We don't witness the endless grind of physical therapy, the wrapped joints, the ice baths, or the sessions with therapists trying to mend parts of a body that has been pushed far past what any young person's frame should have to bear. We don't witness the huge, unending psychological strain of knowing every single day that you are the one great hope for the entire tennis program of your nation. Let's also spend a moment considering what awaits her on the court, because the Alex Eala story doesn't halt for drama in a press conference. The tour moves on, and she moves with it. Her schedule for the upcoming months is filled with some of the most formidable and thrilling challenges of her career to date. The clay court season is just around the corner, bringing its own set of physical and strategic challenges. It's a surface that favors baseline consistency and physical stamina traits that Alex has been pointedly working to improve. Her style of play has clearly matured since her initial breakthrough in the junior ranks, demonstrating more power from the back of the court, a more strategically nuanced method of constructing points, and most importantly, a mental fortitude that is now, after that press room incident, completely beyond doubt. The opponents she'll meet on the red clay courts of Europe are some of the most seasoned competitors on the whole tour, and every single victory she secures will help to close the distance between her current standing and her inevitable destination. Her ranking provides a clear picture of slow, methodical upward advancement. It's the kind of progress that doesn't happen in sudden, huge leaps, but through the steady accumulation of victories, of successfully defended points, and of pushing deeper into tournaments where she wasn't predicted to succeed. This is how true, enduring careers at the pinnacle of tennis are forged. Not from fleeting bursts of junior-level talent that extinguish under the intense glare of the professional tour, but from the steady, persistent, and disciplined climb of an athlete with absolute certainty about their purpose. Alex Eala possesses that certainty. She has always been defined by it. And in the wake of that press conference, her resolve is now unmistakable to the entire world. Parallels are already being drawn to other pioneering athletes from Southeast Asia who have traveled comparable journeys. The names being spoken are of those who came first, competitors who left their homes young, weathered profound loneliness and sacrifice, sometimes faced questions about their allegiance and identity, and silenced every doubt with championships and integrity. Those are the names now linked with Alex's burgeoning legacy. She is, whether she fully grasps the significance yet or not, authoring a new chapter of history. She serves as the inspiration for a whole generation of young Filipino tennis players who are observing her, studying her, and will draw on her strength when they face their own hostile media encounters, their own vicious slanders, their own moments of public trial. They will recall what Alexa did. They will remember that she got to her feet, let the tears fall, looked straight into the camera, and spoke her truth without a hint of apology. This saga is without a single doubt a long way from its conclusion. The chapters that lie ahead, both on the court and away from it, are poised to be some of the most captivating in the modern era of the sport. Every single match Alex plays from this day on will be imbued with the added force and spirit of a nation that came together for her in that harrowing press room, making a loud, unified choice to stand with her. This is not a weight to bear. It is pure propulsion. It is the kind of profound backing that champions draw upon in the fifth game of a deciding set. When their bodies are failing and their arm feels like stone and the arena is against them, they dig deep and find the very fuel that their people have put inside them. One match at a time, 1 year at a time, one sacrifice at a time. Alex Eala dug deep inside herself in that press room and found that power. She will call upon it again on the court time and time again until the day that is surely coming, when she is on a Grand Slam podium hoisting a trophy the Philippines has never before claimed as the anthem plays, and her tears fall without restraint, requiring no justification, because the evidence will be there in her hands, on her face, and in the record books for all of history to see. This is the very essence of who Alexa is. This is the character the Eala family has cultivated, and no journalist, no matter how malicious the question or how deliberately provocative, will ever be able to diminish that. They made their attempt in that press room. They were met with a spectacular failure, and through that failure they unintentionally offered the world a treasure. The indelible, unquestionable image of a 20-year-old champion, trembling yet defiant and magnificent, declaring her love for her nation with all of her heart. If that isn't the very picture of a true national hero, then such a thing does not exist. That concludes your Champions Tennis Deep Dive for today. And what a truly phenomenal story this has been to analyze. Now it's your turn to speak, because we believe this should be a discussion, not just a monologue. Do you feel that reporter was completely over the line, violating every ethical principle that professional sports journalism should respect? Or do you think this is just the harsh, inevitable price of global superstardom? Is every public figure, regardless of their age or their genuine achievements, simply considered an open target for this brand of attack? We want to hear your uncensored, unvarnished, and totally honest perspective. Post it in the comment section below and let's get a real conversation started, because the Champions Tennis family always brings incredible passion to the comments, and we are absolutely ready for it. If this story resonated with you, if it touched you, if it filled you with pride, or if it made you furious, please go ahead and hit that like button this very moment. It is a genuine, direct way to help us keep producing this kind of in-depth analysis for you, and it takes you no more than 2 seconds. If you're not yet part of the Champions Tennis family, click that subscribe button right away, and be sure to activate the notification bell so you'll never be behind when we release a new video. We are your #1 destination for the most authentic, the most compelling, and the most passionately delivered stories from every part of the professional tennis circuit, and we are only just getting warmed up. We appreciate you watching more than we can say. Thank you for being a part of this amazing community, and we'll catch you in the next video. I think it's when they play, or like the national anthem. And Alex, after such a terrific year last year, how does it feel making your main draw debut here in Melbourne? It feels great. I'm just so excited, surprised, and excited. So,